Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our town hall today. My name is Terrence Wazil, and I am joined with our esteemed CEO, Greg Leonard, and this is our summer town hall. Next slide, Ty. So for the town hall today, we will be answering questions that you, our members, submitted. Thank you so much for submitting. And also, we will be reducing all background noise. So if there's anything going on in the background, please, no concerns at all. Please feel free to eat your food, have your conversations, pet your dogs, and we'll have a good time all together. Also, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature. The chat has been disabled, and the Q&A feature allows us to strategically answer your questions and give you that one-on-one experience that credit unions are known for. And also, this presentation is being recorded and uploaded to our YouTube page at harvard.fcu, as opposed to our old name, HUECU. And please feel free to join and look at other things on our YouTube page, such as our financial wellness information and other town hall recordings. Next slide. So, without any further ado, here's our president and CEO, Greg Leonard.
All right, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you participating in our summer town hall, especially on a nice August afternoon. So let's get started, Terrence.
Yes. So, first question, will you continue offering special certificate rates, terms, and can you tell me how certificates work?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of interest in certificates, in particular over the last couple of years. So as the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates about 2 years ago and raising them pretty aggressively, rates on certificates increased, and really we saw a number of our members, not only within our institution but throughout the entire industry, take advantage of these higher yields. For the longest time, savings rates were at near time lows, so finally savers were able to get some yield on their hard-earned money. For those of you who don't know what a certificate is, it it just allows you to give to the credit union your funds for a set duration in time. So we have certificate terms that range anywhere from 3 months to 5 years. So an example, let's say you're interested in tying up your money for 2 years. You would give that to the credit union. The credit union would pay you a higher rate of return, knowing from our standpoint that we have your funds for that 2-year duration in that example. Typically, when rates are fairly normal, the longer out you go in time, the higher yield you would receive. So in a normal kind of environment, a 5-year certificate would typically pay the highest rate of return. The environment today is a little backwards just because of what the Fed has been doing over the last couple of years. So you see some of our short-term rates actually higher than longer term, just because of the rate environment that it is now. For a member that's considering to do it, why would you do it? One, you can receive that higher rate of return, and typically certificates is where you get the highest rate of all of our deposit type of products. The risk that you have if you want to do a certificate is around liquidity. Do I want to tie up my money for 2 years? Once you give it to the credit union, you can access it earlier. However, there is an early withdrawal penalty that does come along with that. So you really have to say, all right, I'm willing to tie up my money for 3 months, 6 months, up to 5 years, whatever category you choose. But that's really the risk. It's kind of knowing that you don't have that immediate access, but in return you get the higher rate. From specials, we'll continue to offer specials. Today we have an 11-month as well as a 15-month term that we're doing. The rates or the APYs around, for both of those products, around 4.75%, a good rate in today's market. The last thing I would say about this before we kind of move on to the next question is, if you're still kind of on the sidelines, if you're thinking, should I get a CD or not? I'm interested. There tends to be a little bit more evidence that the Fed may start to ease or start to reduce interest rates. September is one where the markets are predicting a higher probability that they'll start to ease. And once they do, you may see some of those interest rates within the marketplace for CDs and other types of deposit products start to come down a little bit. Now's still a good time to take advantage and locking in those higher rates of return.
Thanks, Craig. Also, if anybody is interested in learning a little bit more about savings rates and certificates, I've went ahead and placed that link in the chat directly to our website where you can learn a little bit more.
Great. Thanks, Terrence.
Of course. Next up, how much commercial real estate exposure does Harvard FCU have?
We don't have any commercial real estate exposure on our books. We have uh, largely done all of our lending to direct to consumers. So we don't have a business portfolio. We are moving in that direction, but we don't have a portfolio of commercial loans. And the concern that this member has is there's been talk over the last couple of years that there's a lot of exposure on some banks in terms of the amount of commercial real estate they have. And the issue happens to be around those those buildings that may not be fully occupied anymore, as a lot of tenants have or businesses continue to have a remote or hybrid environment. Those buildings are not at full occupancy. And so the concern for from a banking standpoint is, will those owners of the property have the cash flow that they'll be able to meet their kind of mortgage obligations? And so there is this risk that's out there for a number of banks that have high concentrations in commercial real estate. Again, for our institution, we don't have any, so there's no concerns from that standpoint.
All right, that makes me feel better. Thank you, Kurt. Craig, that's good. Next slide, please. Okay, so with your new charter, will you provide mortgages in a broader geographic area, including additional states?
This actually isn't charter dependent in terms of where we can lend. So back in 2000 or prior to 2021, there was a state law here in Massachusetts which um, locked us in terms of how far we could go out in terms of our real estate lending. So the rule prior to 2021 for a state chartered um, credit union was, if you kind of, put a pin here where I am in Cambridge, went out 100 miles and drew a circle, that was the geographic reach to do a real estate transaction. In 2021, the state abolished that rule, which allowed us to expand our geographic reach. And so shortly thereafter, we started to lend in all the New England states. So today you can, if you live in Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, or Maine, you can get a real estate transaction from us.
Hmm,
A year or so ago, we also added the state of Florida, knowing that a lot of people, certainly here from the New England area, a number of them have second homes down in Florida where they like to escape the winter months up here in New England. I don't
oh
blame
yeah,
them. I would love to do that myself.
same, 100%.
We are continuing to look to add additional states in the future. Likely in 2025, we'll add another state to kind of our lineup in addition to what we did in Florida. I would say the biggest change, though, with our charter was not necessarily where we could go from a geographic standpoint, but who we could serve through that geography. So, as an example, I live down on the South Shore here in Massachusetts. And because I've always been associated with Harvard, I was eligible to get a real estate loan through the credit union. But my neighbor could not because they didn't have that affiliation. Now, with our charter change and what we've been able to do with some of the modifications around membership eligibility, now if my neighbor comes to me who may not have a Harvard affiliation, comes to me and says, "Hey, Craig, I'm looking for a credit union. I want to refinance my mortgage, or I'm looking to buy a home. Can you recommend a great institution?" Now I can tell them, "Hey, you check out the Harvard Federal Credit Union." And so the change in charter allows us more opportunities of who we can serve within those geographies.
Thank you so much. Next slide, please. Okay, so the credit union used to have a branch at HSPH or Harvard,
School of
HSPH.
Public Health.
Yes, Harvard School of Public Health. Thanks, Rick. Although you have a branch on Brookline Ave, is it too? It is too far from Harvard Medical School slash Harvard School of Public Health. Any plans on opening a closer branch?
So the quick backstory on this, and we were really sad that we had to leave the School of Public Health. My understanding is we were there for nearly 40 years, and then COVID happened, and the School of Public Health, once they started to open up post-pandemic, had different plans for the space that we had occupied up to that point, and
Mm,
so we were kind of asked to leave. We were sad. We knew we had, a lot of members. Within the medical school and the School of Public Health that we were serving. We certainly um, believe strongly in the medical community. We want to be down there in the medical community. But when that situation arose, we had to find a new home. We were fortunate to find this branch on Brookline Avenue. But we also feel, as this member who asked this question, is that where we're located today um, isn't fantastic for the entire medical community. We feel longer term that we could have one on either end, if you will, within the medical community. So we're continuing to look for opportunities. I'm hoping that we can announce something a little bit more definitive in the early parts of 2025. We've been looking for space. We haven't found anything yet, but it is definitely something on our radar screen. And again, hoping that we can announce something more definitive early next year.
so if you're in the medical community, please stay tuned for good news coming forward. Okay. Does Harvard FCU provide funding for startups?
We do not. As I had mentioned on the earlier slide around commercial real estate, we don't have today a business lending program. We are looking to roll out one in the beginning of 2025. We've been actually working here in 2024 on designing one and working with some partners and getting one rolled out. We'll be actually rolling out business deposit products within the next 30 days. But the business lending will come shortly thereafter, again, probably early 2025.
Mm,
Even with that said, startups have a different level of risk and a higher level of risk than I would say that we as a credit union would undertake, certainly at this stage of the evolution of the introduction into business lending. So I would say that today we don't, and I don't see that happening certainly over the next few years.
good to know. Will you consider raising the loan amounts for international students? And also, Craig, before you answer, I'm going to go ahead and put the link in for our international page if anybody has any further questions on this.
Perfect. So I think this is associated with our graduate student loan program. Um, so we have a really strong partnership with the university, and we lend to 9 of the graduate schools at Harvard. And so what we do on an annual basis is we meet with Harvard and we review kind of what those loan limits will be for the for international students or international borrowers. We have to look at a number of criteria. International um, student lending, generally speaking, has a different risk class. There tends to be, unfortunately, higher delinquency rates and higher default rates that are associated with that. And that's a reason why you don't see a lot of other financial institutions lend to international students because of that heightened risk class. And those who do, many of them charge um, much higher interest rates to compensate them for that heightened risk. Uh, in addition to that, we also take into consideration the cost of attendance and the financial needs of that individual. That's how kind of the loan limits are established on an annual basis. Um, what we have done certainly over the years, because we are trying to make lending or as affordable as we possibly can, is that a few years ago, we eliminated the origination fees that were very standard with graduate student loans. And then a couple years ago, what we did as well is we changed our interest rates so an international student will get the exact same rate as a domestic student. At one point, there was a difference in rates that were assessed again to try to take into consideration that different level of risk associated with that part of the portfolio. But we've changed that status to make it as affordable as we can. Um, where those rates are now the same. So we look at it annually, um, and that's how that program is kind of administered.
Okay, thanks for the answer. Is credit card fraud on the rise? Oof. What is the credit union doing to prevent it?
Credit card fraud has been on the rise for a number of years,
Hmm.
and as the industry continues to adapt and get better at trying to prevent this fraud, the fraudsters seem to get even smarter, and they adapt almost quicker, it seems. So what we have done is we partner with third-party technology providers to continue to get the most state-of-the-art technology around fraud detection and prevention. And so we do that on a regular basis. A lot of us hear about AI or artificial intelligence and where that's used. Within the banking industry, we're seeing AI implemented dramatically into fraud type of protection devices. So we'll continue to ensure that we're partnering with companies that continue to utilize the most state-of-the-art technology, so we can continue to stay ahead as best we can of those fraudsters. It does often come with some complications, and so we try to also balance that with ensuring it's giving you a great member experience. So I know some members have encountered situations where your card might um, um, get notified of suspected fraud where it's perfectly fine transaction. And so these systems are still not perfect as of yet, but we're trying to do our best in protecting our members from fraud while allowing them to still have a great member experience.
Mm. And if anybody has any concerns or wanted to learn more about fraud or scams, I've placed the link into the consumer.ftc.gov/scams. If anybody wants to learn a bit more and try to stay protected. Next slide. Does the credit union have an investment arm?
We do. And we started to roll out our investment services program in October of last year. And Terrence, maybe you can put the link to
Just
our
did.
investment page and maybe even so we have a fantastic advisor. And when we started the program, we really wanted to make sure that the program um, really catered to the needs of all of our members. This is not a program that was intended to say, hey, you have to be extremely wealthy to participate in this program, whether you're a novice and intermediate type of investor. This is a program that is designed for you. We try to lead by education. So what I would recommend is check out our site, make an appointment with our advisor. And they'll go through and they'll make sure that they understand what your goals are, what your risk appetite is, and they'll help you along. I think it's a great addition to the financial suite of products that we have, and it's also a service, quite frankly, that our members had been asking us for years about when we were going to offer this, and so we're thrilled that we finally brought it to market, and we're hearing some great things from members who have been utilizing it.
And just on a personal note, I've personally met Raj. He's a very, very nice man. He's very fun. And I would highly recommend anybody go to talk to him. He's a great guy to just talk to. Well, next slide. How can you improve customer service practices for the member?
This one's really important to me.
Mhm.
Since I've been taking over this role, one of the things that I talk a lot internally is how can we remove friction from our members? How can we make the banking experience better? And I always say, you know what, we all have so much stress in our individual lives, um, banking with us shouldn't be stressful. And so we continue to look for ways that we can remove friction to make a better banking experience for all of our members. We've done a number of things over the last couple of years in terms of how people can communicate and reach out to us. We've included items within our site, chat bots. We have you can use our live chat feature. Certainly, you can talk to a human rep anytime you want. We feel there's certainly we don't want to lose that human touch by any stretch. Um, we can help you if you're struggling on a certain part of our website. Our representatives can co-browse and help you through those different channels. We've embedded chat features within our loan applications and our member account opening screens to help you through those processes should you have any questions. The other thing that we've been doing is we've been continuing to invest heavily into our online banking platform and continuing to put more optionality or self-service options to allow you to take advantage of some of those services that you need. So one of the things that we are rolling out shortly as an example is the ability to do domestic wires. So today, if you want to do a domestic wire, you either have to come into our branch physically, or you can call into our support center to conduct that transaction. But in the future, you'll be able to authenticate yourself into online banking. You'll be able to go in and initiate that wire transaction or transaction transfer on your own. And so we're continuing to embed a lot of these self-service capabilities to really improve that customer service or member service for all of you. And I would ask you too that if you encountered service that you feel is not up to par, send me an email. I want to know. I always give out my emails on these calls. So it's just Craig_Leonard at harvard.edu. I want to hear from you. It's really important for me to make sure that we're giving you the best experience that we possibly can. I know there's tons of banking options out there, and I want you to continue to bank with us.
Like that. I've always liked your transparency, Craig. That's why I like working here.
Thanks.
Uh, how can I lower my interest rate?
I'm going to hit this one from a couple different angles because I'm not sure maybe the original intent on the member who may have asked this. So depending on what your rate is today, there are opportunities. Let's just say you have a mortgage and rates have gone down. You can refinance your mortgage at any time if the rate is lower and you want to take advantage of that. That's an option to you. You may have, for example, a high rate on your on a credit card at another institution. You may want to bring that over to our institution. You can do that through a balance transfer. We have currently a 0% promotion for the first 12 months. You could bring that over. There's no interest for that first year, where people do that all the time and save a ton of money. We have programs where you can do debt consolidations. So again, maybe you say, I don't want to move my credit card from one credit card to another credit card. I'd rather just take that balance and put it into a stable payment where I want to pay it off over the next 3 years. We can do that through a debt consolidation, typically at a reduced rate. The other thing that may be impacting your interest rate is your credit. Maybe your credit score is not where you want it to be. Most institutions set their rates according to an individual's credit score. So typically, the lower the credit score, the higher interest rate is charged to that individual. And that takes into consideration the potential risk associated with that loan. So what we can do, and we're happy, we have a ton of education on this, on how we can help you improve your credit score. We have access to a Green Path, which is a tool that all of our members can reach out. It's free of charge. They give a tremendous amount of information and advice to help improve people's credit score. So whether or not you want to take advantage of a product, or you might have to think about maybe how can I start to improve my overall credit score, that in the future you'll be able to get lower rates. We have solutions that can help you.
And also, I faced our harvard.fcu.org/thrive, our financial wellness umbrella. If you wanted to learn more about Green Path, any of the other learnings and offerings that we offer to help you be a financially well individual.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Of course. Next up, for social entrepreneurs, is there any SBA loan support?
This kind of goes back where we are in the evolution of our business lending rollout. So we today we don't because we haven't introduced business lending, we don't have an SBA program. When we go live in early 2025, we won't lead with an SBA program. We'll likely start to increase the portfolio size a little bit before we do. I don't suspect that we'll have a SBA type of program, likely to 2026. So for those looking for SBA loan support, today we can't support that, but I'm hoping in the near future we could.
Gotcha. Next question. Perfect. How are our assets guaranteed in the case of a financial meltdown?
Well, I think we all hope that we don't have a financial meltdown.
Yep.
And it seems like, we are more on this path of this softer landing, which is great to see. But we've certainly had financial challenges over the years. The last one was 2008, which was certainly challenging to the banking industry. So it's a great question. Um, we have a few things. Well, one, your deposits are fully insured. So we have two types of deposit insurance. Your first $250,000 are insured by the NCUA. And again, if you're not familiar with the NCUA, but because you might hear that the term FDIC, which is associated with banks, the NCUA is kind of the bank counterpart. So deposits are insured up to the first $250,000. But in Massachusetts, we also have secondary deposit insurance, which covers those deposit balances in excess of $250,000 without limit. So if you have $1 million on deposit with us, $1 million is fully insured. So you should rest assured, rest easy that we have that type of coverage. Most states and a lot of banks within the state still don't offer that level of insurance. This certainly became important with the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, where a lot of uninsured deposits were at risk. But again, our institution is fully insured. The other things that we do just to ensure the safety and soundness of the institution is that we have regular examinations by the NCUA. They come in on an annual basis to ensure that we're operating in a safe and sound manner. They report out to management. They report out to our board to make sure that we're doing all those things and that we have sufficient capital. Actually, we're considered well capitalized by regulatory standards. So we ensure that we have sufficient capital or net worth that helps us during any type of periods of economic distress.
That's good. That's reassuring. Next question. Okay, so what new products can members look forward to in the future? This is interesting. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think the big thing, like I said, is the rollout of business services. We've been putting a lot of hours into this rollout. I'm really excited to finally be able to launch this to the business community. We've heard a lot from the business community that they're not being served as well as they had hoped. And there's a little bit of a vacuum in our space here in Cambridge, quite frankly, with the merger between Eastern Bank and Cambridge Trust, that does leave a little bit of a gap where people are looking for a local community institution to step in. We've been around now for 85 years, but our focus during those 85 years has been to the consumer, and we think we can provide exceptional products and services to the business community as well, and we're excited to do that. The other things that we're really focused on is really improving our online banking technology and continuing to invest a lot in that. I had mentioned the example of adding some additional functionality in there. We're also adding some really cool tools in the beginning of 2024, which will help you um, make more informed decisions about your money. So I used that example previously about how you can lower um, your interest rate. And I use the example around maybe your credit score isn't ideally where it should be. Well, we'll be launching a tool that one, it'll show your score and you can go and you can kind of manipulate what your score is to say, okay, my score is at a 700. I really want it to be a 720. And it'll give you educational information that's actionable on
Hmm,
how you can start to move in that direction. So we're leading and about ensuring that we educate our members, but also provide them actionable tools in which they can kind of um, 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 improve their lives, improve their financial lives. So we'll continue to invest in those types of technologies.
I like that. It's very nice. We'll be implementing Fed Now or increasing the number of times per day that you process ACH transfers.
Yeah, so there's a couple of terms in here that I'm going to say the majority of people probably don't know what that is. FedNow,
I don't know what that one.
not a lot of people would know what that is. And ACH, people are more familiar with that. Think of your direct deposit. They go through ACH, which just stands for the Automated Clearinghouse. It's just a network. So when you get your payroll automatically transmitted, it goes through ACH. If you have a monthly gym membership and they take it out of your credit union account, it's usually an ACH transaction. But the two, and where this question is going is the industry is moving directionally to what I would say is real-time payments, instantaneous payments. And that's what FedNow is really trying to accomplish. Um, ACH, we process files today 3 times during the day. We get one at 8 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, and the last one at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So that's when those type of transactions hit. FedNow and real-time payments are saying, you know what, when I want to do a transaction, instead of me saying to you, Terrence, hey, your money should be in I just sent you money, Terrence, it should be in your account tomorrow. Um, Directly where this is going, saying, Terrence, I just sent you money, it should be there now.
Wow.
So that's where that the industry is headed. We've been working with our technology partners and moving in this direction as well. I do see something happening for us in 2025. Right now, where we're kind of stuck is getting some technology partners to kind of integrate the technology well with one another.
Mm,
But we've been researching it. We're committed to moving in this direction, and you should hear more about that in 2025 from us.
that's exciting. All right, I like that. Next. All right. When will Harvard FCU begin offering business checking?
So we're going to roll out business savings, business money market accounts, and business CDs likely by mid-September. Business checking will fall a little bit behind that. Probably call it. I'm gonna probably say late October, early November for business checking. There's a few things that we're still working out from a technology or integration standpoint. We're almost there, but we're leading. We want to get out the savings, money market, and CDs right out of the gates. And we think we can be really aggressive in this marketplace to start. So, we want to work hard in earning the relationships of our business community, and we're committed to doing so. But the business checking will fall just slightly behind these savings products. So look for those again, likely in late October, November time period.
All right, late October, early November. Heard. Okay. Harvard FCU's upcoming initiatives. Any fun stuff happening, Craig?
Yeah, and I covered a lot of them today, and I sound like I just keep repeating myself around business banking, but we focused a lot on that. The other focus certainly this year has been on our new name and changing our charter. We have had a really strong response from our members in terms of kind of our acceptance of moving along this line. A lot of people have asked us how they can get other people involved in the credit. Can we lend in other states? So the reaction has been phenomenal. You'll likely see us marketing a little bit more. So part of our next part of our growth with our name change is just getting more people in the community to know about us. And so we've got an awareness campaign that's kicking off in September. So again, you might say, "Wow, I haven't seen you know Harvard FCU's name out there, and now I'm seeing it a little bit more." And so that's by design. Again, we're working hard in terms of improving our technology. And as a member had a question earlier on there, continuing to improve, constantly continuing to improve the service delivery that we're giving to our members. So again, if there's areas of the business that you feel we're falling a little short, send me an email. I can fix them if I know about them, and I constantly ask our team members, what are our members saying? Where can we improve upon? So as much as we can reduce friction and make for a great banking experience, that's our goal.
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Craig, for leading this presentation and offering your valuable insight and letting us know what's going on. Um, Thank you again, one more time, everybody, for joining us and spending Friday afternoon with us. Let's keep in touch. If you have any other further questions, please feel free to reach out to support@harvardfcu.org or find us on @HarvardFCU on all of our social channels. But this has been our summer town hall. Thank you so much for joining us one last time. Thank you, Craig, and have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.